All right. Hello and welcome to another Paint and Chat. Hey guys, how are you all doing tonight? It's Wednesday, November 18th. We're about a week out from Thanksgiving for us in the US. And I didn't end up finishing my Greylord Taskmaster, so that's my goal tonight. We're just going to see if we can't get her completed. I did mess around with her a little bit before the stream started so that I could try and get the highlights on her white fur. I wasn't really super loving how that turned out. I also put up some highlights on her gray hair, so it has a little bit of a cartoony look, but I kind of like it, so I'm gonna leave it. And then just try to finish her tonight and have another model done behind me. Right, so how are you all in the chat doing? Let's say hi to everybody. War Budgies, good to see you, man. Shale, welcome to the chat. Bills, hey there. Paul, hope you're doing all right there. I know he had a little hobby accident a while back. And Conan, welcome. Let's see. And Todd, welcome to the chat, as well as Chuck. Appreciate you all being here. Viper Taha, good to see you. And Siobhan. And Kristen Kautsy. I hope I'm saying that right. Anyway, what all are you guys working on tonight? How has your hobby progress been in the last couple of weeks? Mine really went through the floor. I had just this series of nonstop headaches this last week that it's really hard to want to concentrate on like any sort of small detail at all when you have a headache, I've learned. So here I am. That's my excuse, I guess, but that's what I'm going with. So I'm going to start getting this in here, but let me know what you guys have been working on. Hey Samuel, Tim, good to see you. Mr. LG Duke, welcome. So, yes. For those of you who have Netflix, by the way, and I know this is a bit of an older series, but I think it came to Netflix. I don't know when it came to Netflix. But I finally watched the mini-series Waco, which is just like super fascinating. Enough so that after watching it, I ordered the book of the lead negotiator because I wanted to know more about him. That was a very fascinating and well-written story, and I was so happy to find something on Netflix that didn't make me want to just cry and turn off the TV forever. Oh, that's most of what I've been up to other than this weird series of like watching weird stuff on Amazon, like free movies. Alright, weird headaches for tonight. Well, I don't have any other headaches, so I'm happy that it's you guys. I'll take you guys any day of the week. I'm painting another Gundam now. Oh man, you do such amazing work. So I bet that's gonna look amazing. Mine not bad. Finishing a Sanguinary Ancient. All that's left is the standard and nearly done with that. Tonight I'm finishing up Sabine, lots of freehand. Oof. Also putting better bases on her, Hera, Chopper, and Zeb. Nice. What hobby progress? I'm writing an English paper that I have to turn in tomorrow. Oh goodness. Are you pretty much there or have you started tonight? Morbiddy's working on a Secret Santa puzzle box because I like my friends to have nice things, but I also want them to be a little pissed off. Ooh, those are fun. There was a friend of mine had a 3D printed puzzle box, and it was very, very cleverly done. Excuse me. Let's see, Inquisitor Shavak. Just finished my Forge Seer, working on my Indominus box now. Oh my gosh, those Forge Seers are very intimidating. Every time I look to start on them, I'm like, there's so much model here. And so, I'm just going to pick this one with the two tiny little models. It's great. I haven't been working on much, but I did finally receive my airbrush and set it up for use. Well, there you go. It's ready for you. Current project organizing stuff, then set up a new painting station. If you're getting headaches while focusing on fine detail work, it's a good idea to make an appointment with an ophthalmologist. Probably, but I've been getting headaches well before, like focusing on things. Just focusing on little tiny things with a headache already is miserable. Sir, there's already a paint called Blood for the Blood God. Don't try to mix your own formula. Paul. No hobby for me, just Ghost Recon. And a little tiny bit of Visage, right? I know. Has that gotten any better, Paul? I want to like Visage, but I'm getting very worried that it's fallen off being interesting and just not being very scary at all. It doesn't have to be scary to be interesting, but this one is specifically marketed as being scary and interesting, so I feel like I should get that. Only about 300 more words to go. Oh, yeah, you got that. It's like your closing statement, basically. Working on my sister's battle immolator. Ghost Recon is hobbying, just not mini hobbying. I didn't know you got hurt. Sorry to hear that. Yes. You are feeling better, right, Paul? I know that it got you good. I think we've all had our incidences with a hobby knife. I believe my very first one was when I was trying to undo a couple of pieces to a dollhouse kit that we had. This is when I was a kid, and my mom would get those Hobby Lobby like dollhouse kits where you're basically just building a highly detailed house from scratch, essentially. They just give you like a whole bunch of wood. And, it was really cool, but I was being sloppy. I was watching TV when I did it, and I glued the wrong pieces together because I was working while distracted. And so I was like, oh, well, this just got glued recently. Used, like, tacky glue or whatever it was. Took, like, a box cutter knife and was just like, I'll just get this in between here. Look away. Yeah, sliced, like, where is it? I believe it was, like, along here. It just, like, went basically right up my middle finger. It was horrible. And then I was like, oh, lesson learned. Let's not ever do that again. And I never did. So, burnt hand and all that. Yeah, some Visage recently. I'm not hopeful of it being scary again, but I shall see. Yeah, my hand is much better. I can use an Xbox controller again, so I was able to do my catch-up stream. Yeah, I saw you streaming earlier. Chopped off about a 1/4 inch of my left thumb a couple years ago, working on a Blood Slaughtered because, of course, I was. That model has never been beaten since. Oh my gosh, well, that blood magic, man. That's alarming and freaky. Whew, no, that stuff is always disturbing. I'm always like anymore because I've done like home repair and stuff, and whenever I used to live in Oklahoma, I had a house there that I had to put up for sale, and I redid all of the trim in the house, and this was maybe not the smartest choice, but I don't really feel like there was much of a choice because I was working 2 jobs at the time, which is about 14 hours a day for me. Come home, work a few hours, like using this huge DeWalt chop saw that I had borrowed in order to cut up and put together all of the trim. And I had a checklist routine for me every time, like, where are my hands? Every time. Like, never cut or have that machine on without knowing exactly where your hands are. Because, you meet people sometimes and they've lost digits and all that. I don't know why the conversation necessarily went this way, but anyway, be careful when you're hobbying. While it's wonderful and nurturing for the soul and mind, it can be a little dangerous for the body. It's a tough way to get a better model. Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm still at work, so I'll be mostly inactive. Hey Patrick, good to see you. I wasn't streaming last week. I went to a bi-weekly schedule, so that'd be why you missed me. Found one of my wife's sewing needles with one of my big toes. Wife laughed and laughed as I jumped around in pain. Good times. Well, because it's poking, right? It's not dismembering something. There's a big difference between even a stab versus like a slice. Slices are scary. This is still live, right? Why did YouTube let me run a live stream on double time? Can YouTube warp time? I don't know. Is my model already painted? Does it look pretty good already? I want to know. Box cutter blade cuts bleed a lot. Haven't had anything really in a long while, but I have a lot of experience on that front. Right? You live, you learn, you get better. Had 2 injuries on my hand that required stitches before. Yeah, I've never actually had to get stitches. The closest I've gotten is using those butterfly bandages. The old shop teacher in school that is missing a few digits after years of working with power saws. Hey Alfonso, we were just talking about accidentally injuring ourselves with hobby knives, and then it went on to power tools. But how are you? Don't mean that, I'm still working on my Taskmaster, but I want her to look really good. So I think this is appropriate. Someone figure out, do I want to do like a black, we're gonna try. Let's try to do a black staff and see if I can get some cool green details to come out. I really am excited to try out this necrotite green, this crazy lime color. Just to dig it, so. I was going to finish up this. So I was actually getting some of the dry brush on here of the bright white. This is the Morrow white on the back of her fur here, so that it's white, but it's not just like Santa Claus white. Didn't need to be silly. Are you using OBS to stream? I am. Sometimes you farm yourself for XP. Wow. Did anyone else watch the product announcement for that Army Painter terrain making kit? No. Although, I will say, any paints that can come out, or any paint companies that can come out that can advertise like some way of texturing or smoothing 3D printed models will do quite well. There are so, like, everybody's got, well, not everybody, but a lot of people have 3D printers now, and there's so many Kickstarters out there. Like, I wanted to get in on it and offer cool 3D printed models for print too. But the hard thing about anything you 3D print is the finishing on it. And so, no, I don't know about that kit, but just throwing ideas out there. If anybody feels like developing some awesome paints that you can just paint right onto a 3D modeled surface. Although, if you do find yourself stuck, currently I have found that you can use those spray paint textures, you know, like the different textures you can have to spray on walls and ceilings and all that good stuff. You can use them for that too. And then you just paint over that and you can do all right. But, just saying, if you wanted a smoother surface. I am being really liberal on this dry brush. Like, I'm not knocking a whole heck of a lot of paint on there because I really want this to be more white than this off yellow color. This is I believe I was using the Menoth base, which has a lot of yellow in it. So we are going to brighten that right on up. That's what I'm doing. Anyway. Finished my Trollkin bust and Rocket Girl. My goodness, Alfonso, you've been busy. Well, congratulations, good sir. Those are both really cool looking models. I bought the Rocket Girl a couple of years ago at Adepticon. Have not touched her. Most likely, I will give her to Flo. But my dear friend Flo is in the process of moving. She just got into a new place. And moving right now is a bit tricky. So hopefully she'll be able to get onto a lot better hobbying schedule once she's set up in her new place. There's supposed to be some more space for all that good stuff. Alright, I'm almost there with the dry brush, and then we can move on to another aspect. Oh yeah, I gave her just straight black boots. I also need to give her a face already. I think we're pretty much to that point. Have any of you ever had labs. My old puppy was a lab, and one of the things you notice is that while their fur is yellow, it's like blonde yellow, they also have white hairs in there. So, since this is a baby daisy basically to me, I'm going to add just a touch of white on the highlights to bring that little puppy's fur out. Good girl. Obviously girl puppy. There we go. Okay, just so you can kind of see progress. Load. Okay, so there you go. So we've got the white, we've got gray with some painted in highlights, essentially. Little puppy being adorable. And he has gotten a little, or she's, I don't know, the dog, some white in it now. I just need to finish up the red and getting whatever color I'm going to put on there to contrast it. Sorry. Let's see, on the plus side, I was with 40K models and Blood Angels to boot. I feel like I offered up the requisite sacrifice needed. Necrotite green is great. I know, it looks so amazing. Did you hear that some stores got Blood Bowl early and it's been sold to some customers already? Is this the end of the world as we know it? Are you talking about a GW product arriving early or stores breaking rules? I'm not entirely sure what you're referencing there. Although, Brian, I do know what you're referencing. Hey, Brian, how you doing? Oh, hi, Mark. Dude, have you ever seen a Neil Breen movie? Like, you're obviously familiar with Tommy Wiseau, and I know you're a movie guy. So, have you seen Neil Breen? Have I talked to you about the amazingness of Neil Breen? Because you can now watch his movies on Amazon. Mostly. You have to pay for them, but it's still better than overpaying for a burned DVD he sends you in 6 weeks. He is a most amazing filmmaker. I follow him on Twitter, but unfortunately that hasn't been as interesting as I'd hoped. Either way, worth checking out. Let's see, finishing on a 3D model depends on the quality of the printer. Resin beds are usually the best. Then you need dedicated printing area with ventilation, yada, yada, yada. I'll buy mine. Fair enough. So I do like the filament 3D printers, which, yes, are the ones that you're using filament for, and you have the print lines. But what I like about them is they're really great for building large objects. The resin stuff is great for higher detail, which is what you'd use for painting, like creating models. But if you're building, like, you know, you're printing a roof, like, filament's fine. Thanks, Brian. A podcast? I don't know. I have a hard time dedicating myself to things, obviously. So, no lab, just a mutt. Well, mutts are amazing too. My 3D print file's quest for my 32mm Orc Scrapyard Junkyard round bases is over, and I found a guy who sold the STL files. His name is Duncan Shadow, and he has a website with his name. Oh, nice. Good job, Duncan. Guy on Etsy strangely also sold me those same junkyard bases. I wonder if he did it legitimately or with Duncan's permission. I don't know the answer to that, but I know you can buy many 3D printed items and STL files off Etsy. And don't underestimate Thingiverse either. My friend Jimmy has a black lab called Ludo. I think I've sent you a pic before. Oh, hey, Mr. Pilak. We had a lab once. He was as sweet as can be, but he did not get along with our cat. My little Daisy got along with everybody. Even the cat couldn't, like, resist her. D&D Fletcher. Hello, I recently started playing and I found your battle reports very cool and helpful to learning War Machine and Hordes. Can't wait for the next one. Oh, thanks. The next one is going to be a Space Hulk video. And then after that, apparently I need to make a War Machine game of me fighting myself. So there is actually planning going into that. I'm just slow. That dude makes some of the worst movies ever. They're so amazing. They're so interesting. I like, from a psychological perspective, I don't think I can quite help myself. Just love them. I grabbed 40K Gladius on sale right now. Nice. I think I have it. I don't remember. In Steam, right? Yeah. I piled up Neil Breen after you and Tommy letting me know about him. Okay. I figured that would make sense. I prefer the Turkish Star Wars to any Neil Breen movie. What? Oh, Fateful Findings is just... It's so fascinating. I don't know that Turkish Star Wars or Turkish Terminator can really compete. I'm a ZBrush artist and professional 3D artist. Prepping for 3D prints can be tough to work into a schedule. Oh, I can only imagine. Oh, that's cool. So do you like, trying to think of how to ask this correctly, like, do you normally just do commission work, or do you have like a line of your own products that you put out there? Inquiring minds want to know. Let's see. It's a great tool, better I think than the sculpting tools in Maya. Space Hulk, Zowie. Space Hulk at some point. Yes, you own Gladius. I do too. So Paul and I are friends on Steam, so he knows more of what I own, I think, than I do. Because, you buy stuff on Steam, especially if you get anything in like a Humble Bundle, where you're like, I don't know, here's $15 or $20, help the cause. And then you get more games than you're ever going to play. or more titles than you're really going to play. So I have quite a collection of stuff. And yeah, the priorities are kind of funny. New Joy movies made by YouTubers. Kind of amazing. Whoa, what are you talking about, Brian? What kind of example? Because I've watched a lot of YouTube web series, like AFK and Journey Quest and One Hit Die and all of those. Here's Reason, The Danger Element. I work contract, but also work full-time. Oof, so you are one of those ultra busy people. Well, thanks for being here. Yes, back to work. I'm sure somebody was like, you said you'd paint this model. That's like one of the voices in my brain, but whatever. Let's get this out. All right. Movies made by YouTubers. So I've been on a weird kick of watching these. So I love fantasy movies, like love them. And I know a lot of people liked fantasy movies after The Lord of the Rings came out. That's fine. But I loved, obviously there's The Princess Bride, but like Lady Hawk and Legend and Willow. And it's really hard to find movies like that, but I'm a sucker for them. So basically anything that's like slapped with like, this is a fantasy movie, I'll be like, oh, okay, I'll go watch it. So I've lost many hours of my life to Amazon lately, because on Amazon Prime, they have a bunch of, I think there's largely Eastern European and like Polish movies, because they have access to such beautiful terrain and environments, I've watched so many bad fantasy movies. Anyway. My last contract was as a high-res and concept artist for a VR game coming to Steam. Ooh, that's pretty cool. You don't judge painting or non-painting out, at least not out loud. Thanks, War Buddies. Oh, buddy, not cool. The Shane Dawson movie is just super gross. That one, I don't know how I feel about that. I love seeing all your paints there. Yeah, it's like quite a collection. And look, I have real ones too now. So, thank Privateer for that. She's growing up. She's playing, or she's painting with professional paints. Pretty soon she'll be thinning them. Unlikely. But I sure am going to start using them. Anywho. La Revolution on Netflix. I haven't heard that one. Lady Hawk is so beautiful. The music, yes, is awful, but I do wonder if a remake of that could be appropriate. Although I don't know who you get to replace someone like Michelle Pfeiffer. She's just so lovely. You hear about the Warmachine dynamic update this Monday. It's updating a BattleBox caster. Lord Kraslov may yet grace the battleboard. He's so good anyway. Why shouldn't he grace the battleboard? I'll tell you, at Valhalla this year, I played so many Warmachine games that I really forgot about how miserable it can be to play, and just enjoyed such casual games with just nonsense happening. It was... I rekindled that, and I'm always afraid of like following too much of the meta and getting drawn into that endless chase. Let's see, so she's got chains on her hands, or not on her hands, but you know, she's like holding chains, because I think it's supposed to be the collar, or the leash for her puppy. So we gotta get that on there. And puppy, I already painted his chain. He's good. He's fine. Let's see. I guess that can be gold. That is also fine. Is that really the only place I need to put this stuff? Oh, no. She's got pointy little stiletto boots that are mostly dug into the ground. We'll just imply it. Brian, you're still doing your podcast, right, with your friend? Let's see. Excalibur is still probably the best. Nice. You should hunt out Hawk the Slayer. That's an interesting old 80s fantasy movie. What? Hawk the Slayer. Okay. Been binge watching South Park on Prime. Oh, no wonder you're not feeling great, Paul. Atop the fourth wall, the movie is some kind of special madness. Atop the fourth wall. Hang on, I need to write these down. I'm going to add these to my notes because I am terribly curious about all of these. So, let me see here. Atop the fourth wall. And Hawk the Slayer. So these are things I'll do in lieu of going to bed. Or like when I go to bed, I'm like, no, I want to watch something. And then I stay up watching it. But anyway, Excalibur. Jackalope and Raven. But is Lady Hawk real fantasy? Yes, of course. There's a magical curse and wizards. It's enough, I think. I'm a sucker for schlocky, cheesy, kitschy pulp fantasy movies. Conan, Red Sonja, Warrior and the Sorceress, Beastmaster, Call the Conqueror. Yeah, there's some amazing ones. Sword and Sorcerer, corny but brilliant. Have you watched The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel? I don't think so. That one doesn't seem very interesting though. I don't know that I feel interested in or compelled to watch anything terribly contemporary. All the BattleBox casters are getting updated. Really? Oh, I guess I have homework. You can thank me for those paints. Yes, Alfonso. Just ignore the one that I spelled. But thank you. Let's see, the only one who shouldn't grace the board is Butcher. He's a D. Thank you, Inquisitor. I'm glad somebody has sense around here. What universe is this model from? This model is technically... So she's set in the universe of the Iron Kingdoms. And her model line is really from a line called Mini Crate, which is like a loot box for miniatures. And so it's very limited release. So she's not necessarily like a standard playable player model in the game, but of course you can use her. And her role is to keep these other crazy Doom Reaver guys, who I find myself unfortunately owning lately, from going crazy and killing each other. So that's her job. There's she's got a little puppy because it's awesome. Whoa. Super chatted. Oh. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate you, man. What are you doing? Aren't you streaming too? Shouldn't you be at work? Brotherhood of the Wolf is another great fantasy movie. So Maddox will get buffed too. Okay, Beth Maddox is pretty awesome. I don't follow the meta with my list. I'm running an Arisk AC list. But some casters can be disheartening to play when everyone else is playing tuned lists. Indeed. Stiletto Boots, the self-pinning model. There you go. I recently moved to new meta, and most people play a range of casual to competitive, and it's a really nice change of pace, not playing versus WTC level players, right? It definitely puts you in a different mindset. Brian and Gio made a podcast, is still rolling. Oh, Hawk the Slayer is effing great. All right, I got it on my list. Yeah, what's happening in the battle reports? You always have the highest quality bids. I mean, one, I can't necessarily get people over right now to play games. But also, they ended up taking a bit of a backseat to other projects, which are still in the works. Because I am one human who also works full-time. And I'm trying to get a lot done. So, here I am just painting my model for now. But if you are continuing to be patient, then I will eventually get videos out, I promise. Lady Hawk is amazing. Conan, you know what's up. Christian Milligan. Hi from Sydney, Australia. Why, hello. Thanks for popping in. Yes, Inquisitor got it. This is a mini crate model of the Greylord Escort, Khador faction attachment for the Reavers. For the Doom Reavers, yes. War Machine is in the Iron Kingdom's setting. Wasn't Lady Hawk just about a lady, a hawk, and a swordsman? Is that it? His name was Mausch. And no, there's a wizard. And it's a lady and a hawk and a guy and a wolf, actually. Just found Sword and Sorcerer on YouTube for free. Oh, and Wizards. It's another weird one. Need to remind you to watch Priest also. Not a fantasy, but it has Carl Urban. That's right, Priest was shot here in New Mexico as well. I own that movie on VHS. Sundays now. Oh, okay. Nice. Well, thank you, Aaron. Plus, I've moved to every other week, so I kind of thought hopefully we wouldn't step on each other as much anyway. But anyway, that's fine. It's fine. It's got 3 swords. It's got to be 3 times better, right? That's the logic. John Terlesky is one of our directors on The Brave. On The Brave as the Deathstalkers too. Ooh. It's like Troll 2. Not as that is crazy, but has very little to do with the first Deathstalkers. This is reminding me of the detailed discussion of Lady Hawk in the book Ready Player One. Oh yeah, that was a pretty interesting movie. Fire and Ice, pretty much an excuse to animate Frank Frazetta's art. That movie is super weird. I watched that one. Yeah, I remember. Very strange. Interesting concept. It must have been for the time. Remember like A Scanner Darkly, and even when The Spirit came out, it was that rotoscoped kind of comic book filter over the actors. I mean, Frank Frazetta's stuff was a little more crazy, but it reminded me of that, like the equivalent. Roll20 and some other games have been able to simulate 40k and some other tabletop games. Have you tried those online matches? I have not myself. No, and if you are interested on the War Machine side of it, they do have War Table, which I think is just on their website, where you can play, but it looks a lot and plays a lot like Vassal. So, I mean, it really is for knowing the mechanics and the gameplay. Honestly, if I'm going to be playing online, it's probably just going to be like a dumb video game with my friends, like Among Us, or Golf with Friends, or Vermintide. Good old Vermintide. Keep painting, keep dreaming, I'm off. Nice, Edgehammer, thanks for being here, I really appreciate it. Oh my gosh, it's 8:05. We need a progress check. How are you guys doing? Where are you at? I know we've been chatting about movies, but I got a tiny bit of paint on here, so surely you've made some progress. At the end of 1982's The Sword and the Sorcerer, it stated, "Coming soon, the next installment in this film series will be the tales of an ancient empire. It took 18 years for the sequel release, but it did happen. Priest, the post-apocalyptic hellscape was shot in New Mexico. Oddly sensible. Yes. Yes, indeed. That Stalker is pretty bad. Whole series. It's about a lady who turns into a hawk and a knight who turns into a wolf. Matthew Broderick is a thief character in it. Yes, that is the setting of Lady Hawk. Golf with Friends is a nice chill-out game. Goodness. Oh, good night, y'all. I didn't paint nothing. That's fine, Brian. I know you paint plenty in your normal day-to-day, so you get a pass. You're fine. But it is good to see you, and I hope you're doing all right and hanging in there. Greetings and salutations. I can't hear that in not Christian Slater's voice. I feel like I want to paint her face. I'm going to put her little Kador symbol on first, though. I keep stalling, like, I'm not ready yet. Thomas Grable, well, thank you for being here, good sir. We've got just a little work ahead of us as we finish this lovely Grey Lord Taskmaster. And I try to... Oh, that worked out actually really well. Sweet. I was just able to stay on the high points, so her hat has detail. It looks kind of like a pentagram, but you know what? It's just what we're gonna have to go with. Night or bad juice, thanks for being here. I'm working a parody song of Old Town Road about magic, and it's real bad so far, so I gave up and came here. Well, I'm always glad to be your second choice there, Aaron. What are friends for? I do appreciate that you keep putting together songs, though. We really need to figure out some sort of collaboration on that. I think that could be very fun. Alright, where's my teeny tiny paintbrush? That's the teeny tiny, yes. Wow, Brian. Okay. I'm not currently making progress on painting, designing some lab controls. Engineered stuff. I see what you did there. Very cute. All right, this brow needs some base happenings. So first, we need to get some white in there. Now, as you know, as we've talked about before, and if you actually paint, you probably already know, the whites of the eyes probably shouldn't be just a bright bleach pure white. We're gonna use an off-white for that. So I'm grabbing the Menoth white base. Now, Heathers was also a fantastic movie. A very interesting. As a teenager, I quite enjoyed it. It's like Beetlejuice and Heathers, and just like the dark comedies in general. I've been playing WoW for free to kill time and many of the creatures I meet. Oh, I bet you must be playing retail. I know they have like a free week for people right now. I haven't touched WoW retail. My WoW classic characters have basically, I don't even know what to do. They're so well off right now. But I have to do preparation for Naxxramas, so that's a thing. But man, it's been nice. Why isn't this paint getting on there? But Shadowlands comes out this month, so I'm sure some of our guild may run off to go play that a bit. And then like a week later, they dropped Naxxramas. I don't know. The whole decision-making process for that has been very confusing. It's really hard to tell figure out the contrast between this off-white and that peach because it's such a tiny little bit of area. Alright, so now we're going to do some vertical slits for the eyes, just so I can make sure that she's not cross-eyed. Needs to get pushed out of the queue while waiting for free access. Oh my goodness. Alright, so we are using, oh, that's the wrong color. We need Thamarite Black. That's the one. Thamar Black. I went as Beetlejuice for Halloween some years back. Still got the costume. Handmade. Black and white stripped costume from the end of the film. Wow. Or striped costume. That's very cool, Kirsten. That's awesome. Freaking Michael Keaton is just a delight. I've been streaming Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice during my catch-up calls with Jimmy. Very intense game. I should watch you play it at some point, Paul. Oh dear. Look at all this excess right here. We don't need that. Always wants to get under that lid. Now I do like that it has a little scooper here to kind of pour back into the lid. You end up with this, still a little bit of a rim, but not too bad. Bloop. All right, I have had tea today. Lots of tea. So let's see if my hand's not too shaky for this. And in New Mexico, there's a very good chance that the paint on your brush will dry before you make it to the model. Oh my gosh, this is not going the way I want it to at all. I'm not showing you what I just did. Okay, well now we've got a little bit of cleanup to do. Wait, I'm confused. There's movie The Sword and the Sorcerer, 1982, and The Sword and the Sorceress, 1984. Two completely different movie franchises with different sequels. Apparently so. I don't know anything about this, but... What color tastes best? I think P3 black. Really? And why would that be, Aaron? Had licorice bugs to eat and some of those Ghostbusters slime when I shook hands. Ah, that's awesome. Very happy finally got the rest of my Riot Quest minis from Miniature Market. Malvin and Mayhem have been holding up. Nice. My experience was from a decade or so ago. I never quite recovered from the emotional scars. Sword and Sorcerer had the triple bladed sword and the fired blades. Oh dear. Yeah, I don't know about that. So I made a horrible mess of her face, and I'm just gonna show you because whatever. But it's terrible, and I have a whole lot of cleanup. Like she just it looks even worse. Okay, we're just gonna attempt to damage control this. I might have to take a different approach with her. Because now she just has very, very tiny eyeballs, so I think I might just redo it all together, because that is also not going to work. Bloop. It's like, no. She looks like a doll from Coraline. I know! Just make them buttons. That is actually even harder. Putting little tiny buttonholes in the eyes. Oof, that's tough. But Coraline was a very interesting movie. Is she from The Crow? No. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen all of the Crow sequels, so for all I know, this character is somehow in it, but unlikely. Alright. Let's start painting her staff. Her inky black staff with the cool necrotite magical bits. So, let's get that started. Coraline was a freaky movie. Yeah. That's what there was a small trend for a while of really good animated kids movies. And then they stopped for some reason. But there was that one, and then like Kubo and the Two String. I think it's Two Strings. Such a good movie. I'm not going to that. I'm just gonna let that last bit be all brassy. To here. But you know, Coraline was a message for the kiddies about, you know, real life might not be everything you want, but it is real, and fake things never have your best interest at heart. This is a very, very, very strong color. Coraline equals childhood traumatizer. That's so good. I like anything by Neil Gaiman. It's alright. There's only one Crow movie, really. Is it the one with Tara Reid in it and David Boreanaz? Because no. Or just Justin Furlong? Terminator Kid? I don't know. There were so many. There's too many. So many. There's more than one Crow. Must not be with the same actor. Eyes for me are easy. Base flesh, Agrax Earthshade in the socket, off-white for the eyeballs, colored big dot for the iris, and smaller black dot for the black pupil, and a steady hand. And 15 times magnification lens. Well, fine. Aaron, you like the second one. Well, we've talked about your movie taste before, mister. Same side. Dead Space 1 and 2 are the only games. There is no 3. I'll leave the chat forever. Oh my goodness, Aaron. Pym particles reduce me in size to paint the eyes on my minis. Appreciate the Ant-Man reference. The first Crow movie was the best. The first Crow movie's really good. Also an interesting concept. And then it's like, whoever was in charge of continuing the Crow franchise after the first movie was successful, as I understand it was successful, just did not understand why it was successful. And so, you know, that poor franchise ended up getting abused. But, I don't know. I'm used to Hollywood doing that. Yeah. Some movies I love, and I just try really hard not to hold the sequels against it. Otherwise, I would end up hating the Alien franchise. But here we are. This is going to be really fun to try and paint color onto negative space. Oh my gosh, what have I just put myself into? We got this. It'll be fine. Pointless optimism. We'll just go with that. For the record, I think War Machine could be a very cool movie. It'd be an original idea and franchise hitting the foray. It would be be a fantasy film. And it could be interestingly done. I would be quite on board. As in support. Okay, I admit I slept in. What did I miss? Not a whole lot. But thanks for being here. Adeptus Ridiculous. We are talking a bit about movies. I can't help myself. Aliens, should have stopped at Aliens. Probably. I mean, I don't mind the idea of them continuing the concept. It's certainly a franchisable thing. I don't know. I think they started getting a little too self-worshipping of their idea and forgetting what was interesting about the movie to people. So repaint her boots there. Got some little white bits on there from my very super smooth dry brushing. I am admittedly fairly nervous getting into this. Good evening. I actually like Alien 3. I know most people don't. You know, I couldn't tell you the last time I've watched Alien 3. I remember as a kid watching Alien 4 and thinking Alien 3 was fine. Because I thought 4 was silly, I guess, at the time. Again, I haven't seen Alien 4 in a very long time either. So I do wonder if I were to give it a chance again. Because there's a lot of movies that I didn't like when I was, 18 to 25 that I don't know if I feel the same way about now, let's say. I almost walked out on Aliens 3 during the opening credits for reasons. Oh my. All the Ridley Scott movies are connected, don't you know? Yeah, I'm not writing Ridley Scott's movies for him to help him make sense for his lazy directing, so no. About The Crow, there are only 3 actors that fit the bill in acting that character out. Oh, really? I would love to hear who you think those characters are. Or I guess those actors. Also, really go back and watch Alien 3 again. Danny Boyle did a great job shooting that film. I like the camera work and the colors and the cast. Well, it was David Fincher's first movie, too. Because he had come from music videos. And then, of course, we now know him for, what is it, like the social... The one about Mark Zuckerberg. I can't remember the name of that movie now. But anyway, he did a bunch of interesting movies since then. But I know he didn't have a lot of control in Aliens 3 because it was his first movie, and I think studio executives were breathing down his neck. I don't know. I guess I can't necessarily blame them for being scared, but I do blame them for being scared. Alright, let's get some brass color onto this model. It needs some brass. Social network. Thank you. I was like, why is this word so hard to remember? Each film is a different genre. You need to be okay with that. Sure. That's fine. My particular way of judging movies is always like, well, what is the movie trying to be, and is it succeeding at that? And then I strongly dislike movies that talk down to me or caricaturize. But if you don't do any of that, and like, again, The Fifth Element, if you read it on paper, it's not a good script. Like, if you were to just read it without imagining these amazing actors running the show and performing, it shouldn't be a good movie. But it ends up being kind of a great movie. So, and it all, like, all the stuff feels right with it. You know, the world works well enough. It doesn't have to be, like, super crazy tight or anything. So I try not to judge movies really based on that. It's just, like, follow your own rules. Avoid plot armor. and don't treat your audience like they're dumb. And there you go. There's no singular Crow character. Well, technically no. It's like a spirit of vengeance sort of thing. Yeah, Fincher did good, or he did what he could. I don't know. I guess I'd have to really see Aliens 3 again. They were all great. Oh my gosh, Adeptus. I'm glad you enjoy them. Didn't Trent Reznor win an Oscar for the Social Network soundtrack? He was at least on the list. I don't know if he won it or not. I haven't really watched the Oscars. Although if he did, I would say it was deserved. It gave the right feel to that movie. Like a constant unease. This is a much shinier type of just straight brass I'm applying. Normally I would dry brush this color on. But I'm kind of being very gaudy with this staff. I feel like that is a bit of the Greylord way. They are fairly ostentatious. Yeah, he won. There you go. Hey, Darnwell, welcome. James Cameron's pitch for Aliens. He had a whiteboard and wrote the word alien on a whiteboard, then added a $sign. So, aliens. Lovely. I love The Fifth Element, but I enjoy anything with Mila Jovovich in it, to be honest. She does seem fun. Wow. Every time I think about The Social Network, I can't think of anything other than the one episode of Game Grumps. I haven't seen that one episode of Game Grumps, I'm sorry. Sorry. Oh my gosh, I think we're to the point. Do I try the eyes again? Dang it. Alright, so I'm debating. Do I try to put a face on this lady again and not mess it up? Or, well, I'm gonna have to let the staff dry a little bit anyway. So we're gonna go back to the face here, and then we're gonna come paint green lines on this staff and see if it works. 'Cause I have no idea. But it sure will be interesting to find out. This is just me being thorough-ish and getting paint all over the wrong parts. Whatever. Alright. Time. Well, if you're not late, you got a whole half hour of time. It's fine. Yeah. Paint a happy face. She may be smiling, but I don't know that she's just, giving like that sweet, cheerful smile that you would hope to see. I think she's more of a grinner. Alright, I'm getting the whites of the eyes back in. So her hat pulls down fairly low on her face. So where her eyes are just barely under the brim of this hat. So I think that I'm going to try and paint the eye more at an upward angle. So you can tell that, the eye is that high up on her face, I should say. I like almost everything from Luc Besson. Huh. Arthur. This model reminds me of Ivana Platt from Austin Powers. Probably. Yeah, I was getting a little bit of like a zinnia on the top feel from her. But she looks Eastern European. Like the sculpt of the face is very good. Well, well, if she's a grinner, she must be a Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn's not the only grinner. There's plenty of grinning ladies. Mandragora, hey, how you doing? We are attempting to paint eyes. This is round 2. I found it to be trickier than normally it's supposed to be for me. It's like, dang it, this is normally my strength. I'm very intimidated now. I feel like she should have like these sharp eyes, you know. Well, a little bit of Coraline face again. However, I think I can work with this. Maybe. We'll see. So where's that skinned hair? Thanks, Todd. She's a Grey Lord. Give her glowing blue eyes. Much easier than doing eyes. I know, but I like doing eyes. And the last thing I can stand is not being able to do something I'm trying to do. So, alright, so here's kind of where she's at, and it's, you know, initially it doesn't look great, but the idea is to see whether or not the general positioning of these lines are in the right spot. Because then, hopefully I can paint around them and frame it. Oh goodness, I'm doing now. And frame it in such a way that it creates her actual eyes and in a consistent way. Because then she's gonna need eyebrows after all this. Okay. So what I did was I took a line of the skin tone and ran it along the bottom of the hat, along the top of her head. And then I think I have to redot one of her eyes, because now she has a little bit of an attitude look, which I appreciate. She has some character going on now. Like she's looking one direction. So I just need to strengthen that, I guess it'd be her right eye. Finished a medieval sister nun and surprisingly armored scout. Aren't scouts supposed to be light and fast? Khador has scouts, right? Khador has like Cossite woodsmen who are terribly armored and terrible speed and terrible shots. And it's like, how did they survive in the woods? But it's a whole other issue. Other than that, they don't necessarily have scouts. They have assassins. I don't know. Does she look like she has much attitude going on? I don't have eyebrows, so maybe that'll be the trick here. I've sort of filled in her eye to be a little bit more of a solid dot at least. Now she also needs lip color. That'll be important. Model's coming along nicely. Looks kind of pale. She is super pale and she needs a wash. Does anybody know of eye magnification lenses which have zoom in, zoom out features? I'm not sure, but I can imagine biotechnology is getting there. Wow, Adeptus Ridiculous. I'm glad you're having some fun with that. You know, you're right. They are, in fact, Widowmaker Scouts. And I think that was because they were planning to add more Widowmaker units. So, I always knew them as Widowmakers, but they did get renamed in Mark III to Widowmaker Scouts. So, good point, Lord Minder. Alright, so we are going to add some eyebrows, which I will use my brown hair color for. I think that's still probably going to make the most sense, even though nothing about this model has, like, it doesn't necessarily match your hair color or anything, but whatever. Yeah. So, sorry if I missed it, but what are you going to do about the Doom Reapers? Give Zerkova her bodyguard even though they're evil? I don't know. I've been left with an interesting choice. I'm working on it. So Zerkova, I have Zerkova 1 and 2, and 2 already comes with 2 Doom Reaver bodyguards. Technically I've owned Doom Reavers for that reason, but I don't necessarily count it as owning Doom Reavers because that's just what came with my Warcaster model. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's time to set up some giveaways for Christmas. Can't paint anymore. My hands fall asleep and stop working. Oh, Edward, am I? Well, we can't have that. All right. That would be very bright. This looks like an appropriate color. This sanguine base for her lips. I feel like she would definitely have darker lips than the average lady. Everyone in that realm is evil. Wow. Okay. know, this is super fascinating to watch, just like me staring intently at this tiny piece. Because the model itself has the shape, but you've got to kind of, it's like the model has the ridges, so now you've got to paint in the real shape of this lipstick. You guys can be the judge now. Try to get that like upper lip shape, you know. Yeah, I think I kind of got there with it. Anyhow, truck driving for 15 years will do that. Oh, I bet. I keep almost getting into War Machines. My favorite tabletop war game for years. I'm just vicariously participating through others. You know what? There's nothing wrong with that. I think that is understandable. I'm just gonna decide I'm relatively happy with her face. I might come back and do more. But you know, she's gotta look, you know, femme fatale, obviously. She's probably fairly scary. And so, you know, if you're a scary lady, clearly you keep your lipstick like on point. Okay. Good night. Have to call it a night. Take care, Alfonso. Hope you're doing all right. It's good to see you. Appreciate you joining the chat. All right. Now for the moment of truth. I have to paint some green on the staff. My favorite Kador. Irisk 2, Strakov 2, Vlad 2. You're a fan of all the sequel boys? Dude, I always highly appreciate painted facial features on models because it's the one thing I cannot get right no matter how hard I try. For whatever reason, whenever I started painting minis, that was like the only thing I could do semi-well. And really, it was just like my color choices always being a mess. But, yeah, I think I like it. Okay. Necrotite green. Yeah, that's a different green. So, brand new bottle, so we're gonna open that up. Yeah, unfortunately, my blood angels are notorious for going helmetless, and I get mad at them for that at times. Have you no modesty? That's kind of hilarious. Ooh, look at that bright color. Ah, it's such a great color. Okay. So we're gonna need tiny, super tiny brush for this one, I think, because the lines are bitty bitty. I'm also just sort of having to make up where these go. I think I have an idea of how to do it. Yep. Alright, well this is going over like a solid black paint very well. So that's a good start. Hooray! A weaker and or thinner paint would just dull it off, you know? Yeah, you can do it. Focus. There we go. So, that green, looking alright so far. There's a lot of making up where these lines are going. There may be sculpted lines in here, but I can't see them. This is going really quiet. Bands, what's everyone listening to? When I was driving around this, well, what are we at, Wednesday? Earlier this week, I guess. I ended up just putting on the regular radio. They were playing Linkin Park. I forgot how much I actually really enjoyed that band. I haven't really listened to them in a long time, but sort of those things where I just don't think about it, or I didn't listen to a lot of music, and podcasts have become such a big thing, right? Or out here it seems like podcasts have become such a big thing, so. Green definitely sticks well, I will give it that. Okay. I'm gonna try something else. I'm gonna try using a bigger brush. I do think this green is fantastic so far. I love its strength of pigment. Not having the effect I'd hoped. Alright, I'm still figuring out exactly how I want to get this green on here. It's like it should be in the recesses, because the magic is clearly within the staff, and the staff is a vessel holding it in. So it seems like some sort of obsidian type of stone or anointed wood would be the thing holding it back, but here's sort of the progress so far. I only have a few minutes anyway, so... Come on, love. But that green sits right on top of that black color in a beautiful way. So, yay for that. Oh. Here's a... I guess at this point, it doesn't take very much to finish her up. Klaatu Barada necktie. No. Silver. I wonder if Iggy Pop has ever played Warhammer. I think more people than we know have played Warhammer. Like, that celebrities sort of came out in the last several years is an interesting thing to see. And then the number of people who apparently have had D&D games going on for ages. And a lot of them have touched Warhammer to some extent or another. I mean, if you think about it, the fact that they have this strong video game presence does so much to keep a name recognition going on out there. I think I might just have to call it here. Like I've been staring way too intently at this model and it's making me cross-eyed. And I keep seeing tiny little details I need to fix and adjust and touch up. But that's not nearly as interesting to watch. I mean, not that this has probably been the most amazing, but anyway. Did you say the words? Repeat them exactly? Well, maybe not every single syllable, but basically, yeah. Now, Ash vs. the Evil Dead is a pretty amazing series. And it's all on Netflix now, if you do feel like sitting and watching that. Thank you, Samuel. Oh, and Paul, I watch English football every chance I get. Fave club is Man UTD, but also mad respect for Liverpool. So if I can understand people from there. Robin Williams was a huge Warhammer nerd. Yeah, he had like a, was it Necroderby? Or did he have the, I think he had an Eldar army. And yeah, Joe as well. There's an elite D&D gaming group around Los Angeles with Jon Favreau, I know. Seems a little bit beyond my echelon. Alright, well, yeah, let's call it here. So, this is the progress of the Grey Lord Taskmaster. I am happy to report she has a face now. I will have to finish bringing out or highlighting the white in her fur. I have to finish adding the details to the puppy dog's armor and probably giving that a wash. The gray part and red part of her outfit will probably also get a wash, and maybe her hair. But I don't want to have to spend too much time re-highlighting, and then the staff is going to have to get completed, but so far you get an idea of like this crackling green magic through it, and that necrotite green is an amazing color. So super happy with how that turned out. But yeah, I'll leave you to it and see you in a couple weeks. I'll have some new model getting prepped and work done, and well, who knows? With any luck, maybe my friend Flo can be streaming and or painting with me too. So you guys all have a great night. I really appreciate you hanging out with me, and yeah, stay sane out there, okay? We'll see you next time.